Hi, my name is Amanda Tran, and today I'll be talking about the portrait of desmosthenes and the kneeling statue of Sennemut. Today we'll talk about the portrait of desmosthenes and the kneeling statue of Sennemut, along with the compare and contrast, the values between the two, and then lastly a summary or conclusion at the end. Number 1. The portrait of Desmosthenes. What is the portrait of Desmosthenes? The portrait of Desmosthenes is a statue created by the Greek and is made up of marble. It portrays an Athens statesman recognized as the greatest of ancient Greek orators who rose Athens to oppose Philip of Macedon and later his son Alexander the Great. The portrait has been restored including the hands, toes, and nose, and its style is early Hellenistic, which is a style of or relating to Greek history, culture, or art after Alexander the Great. Number 2. The kneeling statue of Sennemut. What is the kneeling statue of Sennemut? The kneeling statue of Sennemut is a statue created by the Egyptians and is made of a green stone. It portrays Sennemut, the most favorable official of Dowager Queen Hatshepsut, who reigned 1479 to 1458 BC. He holds a symbolic cobra that supports a sun disk and cow horns and rests on a base composed of two upraised hands, the hieroglyphic signs for Ka, a magical gesture intended to preserve life and ward off evil. Number 3. Compare and contrast. How are they similar and different? Some similarities between the two include purpose and function. The portrait of Desmosthenes, the culture serves as a commemoration of Desmosthenes, representing him as an intellectual figure and a civic leader, portrays a famous individual in classic Greek aimed to preserve their memory and achievements. The kneeling statue of Sennemut also has a purpose and function. This statue is for to commemorate as well as portray Sennemut in a posture of piety, likely dedicated to the pharaohs Hatshepsut or the gods. Statues of the officials in ancient Egypt often has a religious and memorial function. Realistic representation. Both sculptures aim to realism in different ways. While Greek art, particularly in the Hellenistic period, sought to depict individuals' features such as Desmosthenes' maturity and thoughtful appearance, Egyptian art, thought more styled, captured specific attributes of important individuals like Sennemut. Cultural importance of the figures. Desmosthenes was a prominent orator and statesman whose intellectual achievements made him ideal subject for portraying Greek art. His portrait likely reflects his public persona, wisdom, and dignity, while Sennemut, an important official and architect, is often depicted in statues, sometimes in a devotional stance, like kneeling. His role under Pharaoh Hatshepsut was significant, and the statue would symbolize his loyalty and piety, highlighting his prominence in Egyptian society. Their posture. While the kneeling statue of Sennemut shows him in a more formalistic and reverential pose, emphasizing humility and devotion common in Egyptian art, Desmosthenes' portrait likely captures a thoughtful and dignified pose meant to express his intellectual prowess, while despite the distant difference, both poses convey important aspects of their subjects' roles in society: Sennemut's devotion and Desmos' intellectual. Both have symbolism. Both sculptures carry a heavy symbolic weight, while Desmos' portrait would have been a symbol of his intellectual or rhetorical accomplishments, whereas Sennemut's kneeling posture and holding an object like a shrine or statue were symbolic of his service to the gods and the pharaohs, key element to Egyptian stationery. In contrast, the portrait of Desmosthenes and the kneeling statue of Sennemut share some commonalities. They stand in a stark contrast in many aspects due to the difference in cultural, artistic, and philosophical values of ancient Greece and Egyptian. Artistic style. Desmosthenes portrait, a Greek portrait, particularly from the classical and Hellenistic period, aimed for a higher degree of naturalism and individualism. Desmosthenes is depicted with a highly realistic face, showing age, wisdom, and emotion. Greek art emphasizes the idealization of human form while still retaining characteristics like wrinkles or expressions that convey the intellectual and personal of the subject. Sun and moods. Egyptian art, on the other hand, is far more stylized and rigid. The kneeling statue of Senmut, like most Egyptian statues, emphasized symmetry and timelessness. Focusing on maintaining a standard idealized form, Egyptian statues tend to be less concerned with individual likeliness and more with conveying social status, piety, and sense of eternal service to the gods or pharaohs. Expression of emotions. Desmosthenes' portrait captures a specific concept expression which reflects his intellectual and rhetorical prowess, while Senmut, like many Egyptian sculptures, lack overall emotional expression. The purpose of such statues was not to inflict the inner emotions of individuals, but to determine their role, status, and duty in relation to the gods or the pharaohs. Function. Desmosthenes, the Greek portrait, especially in cases of intellectuals like Desmosthenes, was often meant to highlight individual achievements, while Senmut was highlighted of religious and spiritual functions. Number 4. Values and beliefs. What do these artifacts tell us about the culture's beliefs? The portrait of Desmosthenes, a Greek, the portrait of Desmosthenes symbolizes individualism and civic virtues. The portrait of Desmosthenes embodies the values of individualism and public service that were central to the Athens democracy. Desmosthenes was celebrated for his rhetorical skills and his efforts to resist the rise of Macedonian power under Philip II. His portrait reflects Greek respect for individual excellence and political engagement. The Greek portrait often sought to capture the character and intellectual of the subject rather than idealized beauty. Humanism and realism. In the Hellenistic period, Greek art became more realistic and humanistic. The portrait of Desmosthenes likely shows signs of aging, concern, and inner struggles, conveying the emotional and intellectual depth of the individual. This reflects Greek beliefs in the importance of portraying the human conditions in art. Philosophical ideas. The Greek valued rhetorical reasoning and debate. As an orator, Desmosthenes' portrait may symbolize the intellectual ideals of the time, namely the power of speech, persuasion, and the civic duty to engage in the polis. The kneeling statue of Senmut is of religious devotion. The kneeling statue of posture of Senmut in the statue symbolized devotion to the gods and humility before the divine in ancient Egypt. Kneeling was a gesture of reverence, and his position would signify his willingness to serve both gods and pharaohs who considered a god on earth. Senmut's statue often depicts him holding objects such as a shrine or inscription of deities, reflecting the religious and hierarchical order of ancient Egypt. Senmut was a close advisor to Queen Hatshepsut, and his statue reflects the Egyptians' belief in service to the ruler. His position of kneeling signifies his loyalty and servants of Hatshepsut, and the broader idea of divine kingship that permeated Egyptian society. The statue in ancient Egypt often had a fire function, symbolizing the eternal presence of the individual in the afterlife. By commissioning a statue of himself, Saddam hopes that the preserve his identity for eternity. This reflects the Egyptian belief in life after death and the importance of preserving one's memory through art and memorial inscriptions. Order and stability also is represented in the statue The pose stylized representation inscriptions on Senmu's statue represents the value of Mat, the Egyptian concept of cosmic order, truth, and justice. His kneeling posture and association with the divine and pharaohs echo the society's belief in the importance of maintaining harmony in life and afterlife. Lastly, the conclusion. What did we learn from this lesson? Summary. The portrait of Desmosthenes and the kneeling statue of Senmut, thought products of different cultures, both serve a symbolic representation of their society's core values. Desmosthenes depicts in a realistic and thoughtful manner embodies the Greek ideals of wisdom, individualism, and civic duty, reflecting the importance of intellectual engagement in public life. In contrast, Senmut kneeling posture symbolizes loyalty, humility, and devotion, embodying the Egyptian focus on religious hierarchy and focus on the pharaohs, while Greek art emphasizes realism and individual roles in society. Egyptian art prioritizes idealism and religious obedience. Despite these differences, both works use posture and physical expression to communicate the deeper cultural ideas of these respective civilizations. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope it was a good presentation.